If we were all in a hall together, there would be a settling, there would be an end to the shuffling and the whispering, and we would come into a silence together, knowing that we are entering something very special. I would even call it sacred space, community, heart opening, common intention, common desire for healing, for the inner healing that we all need so much, and the deep desire we have for a healing of our communities, our races and classes and genders, our country, our world, our planet. This is our deepest, deepest longing, isn't it? And I would say for me that that is why I'm here tonight, is to be part of all that healing, all that possibility. So if you have a candle and you wish to light it, that would be a great time to do it. And you can have it going the whole night if you like, or if it's just a little candle and you might run out of steam, you might have it on for a while, and then perhaps we'll light them again at the end. So I just have a few words I want to say, kind of to connect with us. Some of you have been here before. Some of you, this is your first time. When I started doing this series, we were in the middle of COVID, and it seemed like the right thing to do, to bring music, to bring what I have, which is music. And it wasn't but a few days really after we started our first session that we had the murder, the very horrifying murder of George Floyd, and everything changed. Everything became yet another national experience and international experience. So I'm trying to keep up with this as a communicator, as a singer and a writer, and somebody who has some experience in being in community with song. I'm trying to keep up with this, and honestly, I just have to say, I'm just feeling my way. I'm just feeling my way like you all are, with my private responses to all this and then this public response. So I kind of feel the weight of it a bit, and like wanting to use this time well, use your time well, and just offer something useful for the great turning, that we are in, this great transition out of an age of industrialization and then the technological age, and we're moving into the ecological age, and the kind of a different way of being on the planet. At least that is the faith we have, is that we are moving into a new age of connection and love of the land and respect for all. And we are part of that. We're right in the middle of it. I've also heard this moment called the Great Unraveling, and I really like that. Because, when you stitch too long on a row that isn't working, you have to unravel it before you can stitch a better row, So the Great Unraveling and the Great Revealing, I heard it called also, the Great Revealing. We're being shown things that many of us who are white people have not really had to look at very much and have had the option to kind of turn away. So a lot of revealing going on. So I'm going to start with a song that is a prayer and an invocation. I think it's something we're all asking for, is to have a voice that we use well in the world. This is by Shari Byrne. Send me a voice to speak your deepest fears. Send me a song to heal a million tears. Send me a voice, the voice of ancient years. For I am walking Send me the strength to heed when you call. Send me the eyes to gather all. Send me the truth to break the longest fall. For I am walking this road for you. Earth, make me your channel, and I will bear your pain. Earth, take my whole life to make you whole again. Make me your instrument, and I will play your tune. For I am walking this road for you. So I want to find a way for you to join me on this. I know you don't know it, most of you, but we all know how to say ooh. And it turns out that sounds like ooh and humming actually activate our nervous system in a very soothing way. Humming is often recommended for people recovering from trauma. So what I'd love to have you do is to just ooh the melody along with me. Let's try it. Ooh, ooh. Now that we can sing the first verse together, I'll just feed you the lines and you just stumble along with me. Because we all are in prayer in some way, whatever you call it. We're all reaching out, needing more, needing something bigger to help us along right now. Send me a voice to speak your deepest fears. Send me a voice to speak your deepest fears. Send me a song. Send me a song to heal a million tears. Heal a million tears. Send me a voice. Send me a voice. The voice of ancient years. For I am walking. For I am walking this road for you. I am walking, for I am walking this road for you. For I am walking this road for you. You know, I just know that was so beautiful. You know, even though I can't hear you, I know that was incredibly beautiful what we just did. Thank you all. So just in the spirit of staying right with that song, again, if you wish to close your eyes or to, no, even better, look at your candle. Bring it close so you can really bathe your eyes in it. that little that little flickering light offering itself, the magic of how it turns solid and air into fire. Let your eyes soften a bit so you're not over focused, just soft. And you can let your face soften too. And just feel yourself breathing in the light and the warmth of this small candle. It's amazing how the smallest flame can light up a whole room of dark. I think that's an important message for our hearts right now. So just breathing in your candle, my question for you to just see what comes to you is, what is your prayer right now? What are you reaching for? What do you need to face the path that we are walking? And whatever that is that you reach for, just breathe it in through the candle. This is also a time when, even as we reach out, we also are being summoned. We're being called. This time is a cry to all of us. And I know that every heart has been activated by that cry. So again, I ask you, what are you feeling summoned to in yourself? This is another prayer song from the words of St. Francis of Assisi, St. Francis prayer, put to music by Kate Munger. Your part is simple and beautiful. Here it is. May I be an instrument of peace. May I be an instrument of peace. That's it. Let's do it. May I be an instrument of peace. 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 Now there's a descant, which means a second part that sort of floats over that line. In person, we divide the group and half of you sing May I Be an Instrument and the other half sings the upper part. I don't know how to do this on Zoom, but I say just keep singing what you're doing and let's see if, I don't know, let's see what happens. And if it gets really weird, just start doing ooh instead of the words. We're feeling our way, folks. We are feeling our way. So here we go. You start. May I be an instrument of peace. Keep it going. May I keep it one. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, let me sow pardon. Where there is doubt, let me sow faith. Where there's despair, let me sow hope. Where there is war, let me sow peace. Where there is darkness, let me sow light. Where there is sadness, let me sow joy. May I be an instrument of peace. May I be an instrument of peace. And let's just ooh. I saw your lips moving and I felt my voice singing, and I think we did it. I think we did it. How was that? Was that workable? Yeah. Great. Wonderful. So yeah. So I think we could all agree that we are in the middle of something really, really big. Probably bigger than we know. And this feeling of being called, there's a long history in freedom singing, coming out of the African American singing tradition, which came out of the experience of slavery and the spiritual strength that enslaved people drew on to survive and to keep hope alive in impossible circumstances. And there's songs that talk about that were coded language for freedom and liberation through the Underground Railroad, through the only way of escape one could imagine. And so there were songs like "Get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, get on board, children, children, there's room for many a more." And there's also, of course, "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot," being picked up and carried. And this is all coded language, of course. Nobody was talking literally about the North, but they all knew what they meant. They all knew what they meant. So a couple of nights ago, in one of my most creative time is 2 to 4 in the morning. If anybody else is up then, give me a buzz, because I'm up doing my work. That's the way my nervous system seems to operate. So the other night, this song came to me, a new song that is one of those come on board songs. So I want to try it out with you. It's called "Something Big Is Happening." And it's really easy. It's one of those songs that has almost always the same words, like verse after verse, just a couple of words change. So here we go. It goes like this. Something big is happening, get on board. Happening now, gotta get on board. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Something big is happening, get on board. Okay, think you can do that? Now you may notice my body's moving a little bit. This is the kind of song, I don't know how you can hold still, honestly. So please feel free. I'm also slapping my thigh because rhythm, if we were together, we'd be drumming and clapping. I see Amy's clapping. And so, make it yours. Get your body into it. Yeah. Something big is happening. Get on board. Happening now. Gotta get on board. Let's just do that much. Here we go. Something big is happening, get on board. Happening now, gotta get on board. We'll just do that again so you can get used to it. Something big is happening, get on board. Happening now, gotta get on board. Good, here's the second part. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Something big is happening, get on board. All right, we all got muscle, here we go. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Something big is happening, get on board. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Something big is happening, get on board. All right, just getting there. Here we go. From the top, something big is happening. Something big is happening, get on board. Happening now, gotta get on board. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Something big is happening, get on board. And I know it's a little stumbly bumbly at first, but you will get it because we're going to sing a lot of these. The next one is waking up is happening. And isn't it ever? Here we go. Waking up is happening, get on board. Happening now, gotta get on board. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Waking up is happening, get on board. Go and tell your neighbor now. Here we go. Go and tell your neighbor now, get on board. Happening now, gotta get on board. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Go and tell your neighbor now to get on board. Gather up your children, gather up your children now, get on board. Happening now, gotta get on board. We all got muscle, we all got an oar. Something big is happening, get on board. Now here's this little other part that I do. Oh, the promised land is beneath our feet. All we gotta do is dig down deep, dig up the roots of the poison tree, water the seeds of the world we see, 'cause it's not far away. It's not out of reach. It's here and now, and it's you and me. Courage and love are all we need. Dig deep, let go. Dig deep. Let's do it. Let go. Dig deep. Do it with me. Let go. Dig deep. Let go. Something big, 'cause something big is happening. Get on board. Happening now. Gotta get on board. We all got muscle. We all got an oar. Something big is happening. Get on board. All around the world. All around the world, people get on board. Young people leading us, get on board. Room for everybody now, get on board. Black and brown people leading us, get on board. Ain't no way to stop it, gotta get on board. 'Cause the earth is calling us, get on board. And something big is happening, let's get on board. Oh, that was fun. That was great. I love this. Is so amazing. To me, it's amazing how well Zoom works, given that we were not meant really to make music this way together. But it's pretty good, pretty darn good. So, I think we've all been thinking a lot at various stages, and I want to say I know not everybody is hyper focused on this moment of kind of a national unraveling and reckoning and transformation, we pray. And it's not because you don't care, but just because you have lives, and there's other things we are dealing with in our lives. So I don't assume that you're all as hyper focused on it as I am. But I do want to share what has been coming to me out of that focus in hopes that it's helpful. So that phrase in the song about dig up the roots of the poison tree, I've been hearing really helpful information about racial trauma lately. There's an amazing African American trauma therapist in Minnesota, of all places, Minneapolis, who talks about the racial trauma in white and black bodies and brown bodies. That race is not just traumatic for the people who are the targets of racial oppression, it's incredibly injuring to those in the dominant position, and what it costs us in our humanity to allow that to continue and to live with the benefits and the all the benefits of being living with property and financial security and education and health care and safety that is taken from others, and we know that now. We have that awareness, and this is not, to me, it must not be an opportunity to just stay in guilt and shame, which often leads to anger and denial and a whole bunch of avoidance and so forth. But to understand that there's a healing to be done right here in this body. And trauma, people who understand trauma really understand that what we feel and what we experience stays here in our bodies, and it affects everything from our health to just how we feel in the world, how we feel about ourselves. It's also generational. Post traumatic stress disorder, is that what it, PTSD? I've heard African American people talk about that, about their own version of that, post traumatic slave disorder, that there's a generational trauma passed down through the DNA. This is epigenetics, and it's apparently scientifically quite true that we aren't just experiencing our personal traumas, but the traumas of generations before us. And white people also embody that. I listened to a talk by this wonderful, as I said, therapist from Minnesota, Resmaa Menakem. Resmaa Menakem. And he talked about white people in Europe during the Dark Ages, 1,000 years of torture chambers, serfdom, violent, bloody wars, early death, terror, fear, no, very little freedom, very little agency, all that stored in those bodies generation after generation. And then Resmaa Menakem says, and then they got on boats and they came over here, our ancestors, carrying all that. And that relates to how slavery and Black oppression for all these years and the murder of Indigenous people have been able to happen. It's a time for healing, folks. I feel very excited because I want this, and I want this for all of us. I don't think we can make a new world if we don't heal deeply on every front. So all that to say, if you're, the difficulty of admitting white privilege. Well, I didn't do this. I didn't cause it. And look, I'm poor. I'm not, yeah, I'm white, but my grandfather this and my mother that. Yeah, of course. But you know what? If we think of it as a disease, just like alcoholism is a disease, it's not our fault, but it needs to be healed. And we really can't get well until we admit that we have the disease. I've written a whole thing about the 12 steps applying to white racism. I'm going to probably talk about it next week because I don't want to take all the time tonight. But anyway, so I think what I honestly want to do, this is just a little idea I had today. Speaking of the heritage of white people coming from Europe, which my people did, I come from people who were Huguenots during the in France, which was actually an oppressed religious group that were hounded and pogromed and fled, I believe, to England largely. And so I have a heritage, and those of us who are white people, have a beautiful and amazing heritage from the British Isles and the music. I want to hold up this book. Do any of you know this book, the Fireside Book of Folk Music? I grew up on this, and this is full of the beautiful music of the Irish, the Scots, the French, the English. And I want to sing one of those songs. I want to sing a song that I sang from childhood. It's just one of the most beautiful songs, and it always made me cry. And I understand now it's a very sad song. In fact, I used to sing it to my son, and I had to rewrite the last verse because it was too sad for him. I don't remember it now, but it is a song so much about the betrayal of all people, Black, brown, white, the betrayal of all of us by the powerful, the rich, those who had the scepter and the crown. And we've all been betrayed by those forces. So this is called The Golden Vanity. There was a ship sailed on the northern sea, and the name of the ship, it was the Golden Vanity. and she feared she might be taken by the Turkish enemy that sailed upon the lowlands, 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 that sails upon the lowland sea. Oh, I'm so nervous I'm forgetting it. I have to look it up. Let's see. Oh, no, I know what it is. Then up there spake a little cabin boy, and he said unto the skipper, "What would you give to me if I swam alongside of the Turkish enemy, and sank her in the lowland, 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 and sank her in the lowland sea? Oh, I will give you silver, and I will give you gold, and my only daughter your bride to be, if you'll swim alongside of the Turkish enemy, and sink her in the lowland, 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 and sink her in the lowland sea." You can sing that lowland part with me. It's obviously what happens every time. So the boy made ready, and overboard sprang he, and he swam alongside of the Turkish enemy, and with his auger sharp in her side he bore holes 3, and he sank her in the lowland, lowland, lowland. He sank her in the lowland sea. Then the boy swam back to the Golden Vanity, and he called up to the skipper, "Oh, pull me from the sea." But the skipper did not heed, for his promise he would need. So he left him in the lowland, lowland, lowland. He left him in the lowland sea. So the boy swam around unto the port side. He looked up to his messmates, and bitterly he cried, "Oh, messmates, pull me up, for I'm drifting with the tide, and I'm sinking in the lowland, lowland, lowland. I'm sinking in the lowland sea." So his messmates pulled him up, but on the deck he died, and they rolled him in his hammock, which was so deep and wide, and they lowered him overboard, and he drifted with the tide, and he sank beneath the lowland, lowland, lowland. He sank beneath the lowland sea. Thanks. The very first session we had, which was just a couple of weeks ago, it just seems like years have passed. So much is happening. But I said I was thinking of themes for coming evenings, and I thought I want to do something about what I call outrage, the other face of love, because love, and then seeing what you love being betrayed and stolen and damaged and devalued. If we're not outraged, we're not paying attention, as the old bumper sticker used to say. So I'm not going to do a whole night of outrage, but I'm going to give myself a moment of outrage, give us all a moment of outrage. When I think of that, just that betrayal in that song, and how betrayed white people, black people, brown people, indigenous people, how we've been betrayed, and our ideals. And as children, we believe the world, we want to believe the world is friendly. We act as if the world were friendly, and yet sometimes, I know children right now are so confused. So I want to sing this song, which is At a time when we all, our natural instinct, our natural village instinct of this is not right, this is not right. I don't care what, political party, what persuasion, this is not right, was seeing children being put in cages at the border. And so this is my song of outrage. And also, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It speaks for itself. And the one line that you can all sing along is, "You better leave those babies alone." You can try to take my freedom. You can stop me at the border. You can throw me into prison for the sake of law and order. You can tear my child out of my arms, try to send me home, but I won't go. I won't go. You better leave those babies alone. Say it. Leave those babies alone. Leave those babies alone. You can try to build your wall up. You can ramp up all of that fear. You can tear down every freedom that makes me want us to here. You can try to shame me, try to blame me, make fun of my fear, but I'm saying it clear. I'm saying it clear. You better leave those babies alone. Let's sing it. Leave those babies alone. Leave those babies alone. You better leave those babies in their mama's arms. Don't you touch a hair of their head. Don't you do them no harm. You can't take a little child, put him in a cage at a tender age. How low can you go? Just leave those babies alone. Leave those babies alone. Just leave those babies alone. 'Cause I know about bullies and gangs and fear. I know about rapists, that's what brought me here. I know more about you than you know about me. I've dealt with worse than you in my country. So you can come with your guns, come with your tricks, claim I'll see my baby if I sign real quick. How low can you go? How far have you gone? You know you're gonna pay for this further on. 'Cause deep in the dark, deep in the night, something gonna wake you up deep inside. Something gonna trouble your heart and your mind. You'll look at your own kids, you'll think about mine. And I know this is true, like I know my own heart. It's more than my life being ripped apart by the ones with the money, the ones on high. They're playing you, brother, got you hooked on a lie. You may feel like you're winning, like you got control. Just follow orders, keep your head low. Little by little it takes its toll, and you're losing something. Call it your soul. And once the damage is done, there's no way to atone. It's too deep in the bone. So I'm telling you now, just leave those babies alone. Just leave those babies alone while you got time. Leave those babies alone for your soul. Leave those babies alone for the sake of your soul. Leave the babies alone. Leave those babies alone. Leave those babies alone. Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Yeah, I think to be quote audience, and you're with me, your community, you're not audience, but it must be a little challenging. Like, how do I respond? So respond however you like. It's just good to see you. It's good to feel you. So I've been really had a big place in my heart for moms and babies for a very, very long time in my life. And after about 50 years of doing this music thing, about a year and a half ago, I got one of those unexpected bonks over the head that life delivers sometimes. It came just after my eldest sister died. And I think that's no accident. That's when we go through a death, and I was with her a lot during the last months of her life. Something opens, like a portal opens. We move into a bigger dimension. And anybody who's been through a death where you were walking beside them and part of it knows what I mean. And so after her death, I was in a very opened up space, a very almost liminal, unformed, and I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want to do. Everything I thought I wanted to do once my sister was gone and I could go back to my life, I didn't want to do it anymore. I was very lost in kind of a neat way. It was kind of a good feeling, like I don't know who I am. I like, when the caterpillar dissolves in the chrysalis, there's this stage between caterpillar and butterfly where it turns into black goo. And it sounds kind of awful and scary, but I was kind of in black goo, and it was kind of nice. Like, I'm tired of being Betsy. I wonder who I'll be next, And so what came out of that was that I decided to become a doula. And I know a fellow doula is in the room, at least one of them. And also one of the mamas that I'm joyfully, gratefully doulaing with is also in the room with her 2-month-old little baby. So I've spent the last year in the realms of birth, in the realms of the body, in the realms of the most basic activity of life, the most sacred possible, and what a gift. It's changed me like in ways I can hardly tell you. So grateful. And well, there's so much to say about that, but I think what I'm going to do is actually a little song I wrote from my doula life. I may sing a couple from my doula life. See what the time is looking like. And my partner David, somebody we heard was pregnant. This was several years ago, but climate change was very much on our minds, and everything that was kind of feel like it was all going down. And he said, God, do you think people are just going to stop having babies? I mean, it's so hard to bring a baby into this world. And without even thinking, my first thought was, oh, honey, they're going to be doing that till the world ends. Is there something unstoppable about this creation, this primal creation? So I know that this is not the kind of song that population control would celebrate. And I'm just going to say that I'm not saying that we don't need to be mindful of our presence on this planet, but there is some life energy that just wants to come through. And I believe there's a reason for that. So this is called Baby's Coming In. And the part for you is to sing, baby's coming in, baby's coming in. Ain't no way to stop it, those babies coming in. Try it. Baby's coming in, baby's coming in. Ain't no way to stop it, those babies coming in. Oh, we're not about to quit, we're not about to quit. Making babies till the end of time, we're not about to quit. Old Cupid's got his ways, old Cupid's got his ways to keep the circus going, and those babies coming in. Sing with me, babies coming in, babies coming in. Ain't no way to stop it, those babies coming in. Again, babies coming in, babies coming in. Listen to this, those babies just might save us all, those babies coming in. I know it's looking grim, I know it's looking grim, I know we're getting crowded with those babies coming in. So we gotta make some room, we gotta make some room, 'cause they're bringing something we don't know, those babies coming in. We just have to figure it out, we just have to figure it out. Gotta bury those cars, till the soil, for the babies coming in. Oh, babies coming in, babies coming in. Those babies just might save us all, those babies coming in. Again, oh, babies coming in, babies coming in. Those babies just might save us all, those babies coming in. So I'm gonna be a doula, I'm gonna be a doula. If you can't beat them, join them. So I'm gonna be a doula, 'cause the baby's coming in, those babies coming in. Ain't no way to stop it, those babies coming in. And those babies just might save us all, Baby's coming in, 'cause they're bringing something we don't know. The baby's coming in. Gotta bury those cars, plant the soil, for the baby's coming in. There ain't no way to stop it. Those babies coming in. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I listened to a beautiful talk the other night by a Buddhist teacher named Tara Brach. Probably some of you know of her. Tarabrach, tarabrach.org. She's doing a series of weekly talks called Sheltering in Love. They're very good. And she did the most recent one is the one I highly recommend to you. I put it up. You may have noticed in the invitation you got this week, if you got it, that there's a whole link to a resource page. And I put a lot of really wonderful, to me, things that are really helping me. So this talk is there. Resma Menachem, the therapist, is there. He's interviewed by Krista Tippett on Being. I have the link to that in the resources. Also have resources, some of the many, many good resources for white people who want to begin to understand what this white privilege thing is costing us and others. Of course, the classic one is White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. And there's many more, and some of them are up on the resources. So Tara Brach was talking, and she said something so wonderful. I wanted to share it with you. So many people have focused. First, there was the horror of watching a man being murdered calmly in cold blood by a public officer, and then there was the peaceful demonstrations, and there was the inevitable small acts of property damage. And it is kind of amazing how much the media guides us to focus on that. And then how so many people say, I really believe in the cause, but why do they have to break windows? It hurts their cause, and forgetting that it's a very small number of people. And that Tara Brach, when she spoke to an African American friend of hers about this, he said, well, there's an African proverb that says, if the child is not embraced by the village, she will burn it down just to feel the warmth. If a child is not embraced by the village, she will burn it down just to feel the warmth. And Martin Luther King famously said, a riot is the language of the unheard. And on that resource page also, there's a short but very powerful talk by Tamika. I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting her name. She's an activist, helped start the Women's March, very involved in the Women's March. And she calls out, as many Black speakers have been calling out, the looting of Black lives, black bodies, the looting of Black wealth, the foreclosures of the 2008 crash, the subprime mortgages, the way that any possibility of climbing into the middle class was taken away from thousands and thousands of Black people, the violence on Black bodies. Just that it doesn't mean anybody condones any violence, but just to understand the violence that has preceded the breaking of windows and the burning of trash cans or a police station right now. Just understand. We need to just have some understanding of this so that we can see clearly. I was raised in a family, good minister's family, good values. My dad was all over the civil rights movement. We talked about it at the dining room table where we lived in pretty much lily white Salem, Oregon in the 50s. And we were good liberals. And I had my first real awakening. And I'm so surprised at this because this is a song. I'm going to sing you a song I wrote in 1981 when I was 30 years old. That's 39 years ago. And I thought of it out of the blue the other day because it captures a lot of what the awakening is today for we white folks. And I'm not assuming everybody in the room is white. Please, I want to say that very clearly. It's just, as I speak from my own experience, I feel a special mission, to share my process with other white people. And I wish we could all talk together because you're all doing this work too. I know that. But anyway, this song I want to sing you, it has both in it the awakening of a young white woman to the naivete and the innocence of her do-good spirit, that beautiful intention to do good. And it also has a little bit in it about a big question that's on everybody's mind now about defunding the police. And that, well, what will replace it? How could we can't imagine a world without police? And on that resource page are some incredible videos of police in other countries handling very violent situations without any gunfire, without any violence. We've never seen it, so we don't know it's possible, but it is. So this song I wrote, I was on tour with Kathy Winter, my wonderful singing partner back in those days. Maybe some people here remember that. Kathy Winter and Betsy Rose days, 1981 here. We were up in Canada, touring in Canada, and there was a news, something in the paper that I read that was just amazing, amazing story, written by or about a young social worker, a white woman who was involved in domestic violence situations. And the story was of a Native woman who had come for help to their domestic violence services. And they were more than happy to help her. And they knew who the perpetrator was. So they knew where to find him. But when the day in court came, she didn't show up and she disappeared. And this white woman, social worker, was so upset and so wanted justice to be done that she went looking for this woman. And the song tells the story from there. It's called Manitoba, 1981. In a Manitoba city in 1981, I was working for a shelter, serving women on the run. Battered and abused, they needed someone on their side. To be that someone made more sense than anything I'd tried. Now I'd been raised by gentle hands, raised up to respect the institutions of our land and the rulers we elect. And though my faith grew tarnished by all I heard and saw, I still believed that a righteous cause could bend the ruler's law. Now here in Manitoba, two worlds fought for one land. The world of white-skinned settlers and the world of native bands. It's a long and bloody story that brings us to this day, when white folks set the price and the native people pay. One day a woman came to us, she wouldn't name her tribe. She told us of her story, though it went against her pride. The owner of her building, a white man 6 feet tall, had followed her upstairs one night, raped her in the hall. This man, he was no stranger, she knew his face and name. For once the cops were with us and the evidence was plain. With his history of trouble, he'd not walk free for long. But when our day in court came round, the woman, she was gone. We hunted through the city, we followed every trace, and inwardly I raged at her for ruining our case. To come so close to having one less rapist on the street, and to have one frightened woman bring our project to defeat. Well, the cops soon gave up looking, but somehow I could not. I roamed the streets and alleys, seeking someone who would talk. And finally, a young girl spoke behind her mother's back. She's gone up to her people in the land of the Micmac. So this is how I found myself one early day in June, in a tiny native village northwest of the Saskatoon, standing by her doorway and pleading for my case, with a man who barred the entranceway and told me to my face. He said, "White woman, go back home. You don't know what you do. Our people will protect our own. We got no use for you. White courts, they jail our leaders. The city takes our young. It took my sister's innocence. There's nothing to be done." He said, "White woman, go back home. When justice serves your kind, Do you think that simple evidence will sway a judge's mind? That judge, he sees us drunk and poor, he sees our broken pride. He'll never favor native truth over a white man's lie. He said, white woman, go back home. You do not understand. White justice broke our treaties and stole our sacred land. We will not beg or bargain with those who steal and lie. And if there's justice to be done, it's we who will decide. In a Manitoba city in 1981, I ponder on these lessons and the work that must be done. And I think about her brothers who may walk these streets at night, and of one white man whose face and name they've memorized for life. And maybe in the paper someday I'll read a line that tells me he's the victim of an unsolved urban crime. And I won't point the finger, and I can't say for sure what kind of justice I would choose in a world so far from pure. It's a long and bloody story, and my battle's just begun in a Manitoba city in 1981. Thank you. So this white woman aged another bunch of years and grew a little, grew in some understanding, and yet still felt trapped in that bubble that we live in, that United States bubble, that race bubble. For those of us in California, California is a very unique state. It's a wonderful state, but it's also kind of a bubble. We know that Kansas is not like California. Thank God. We need both. And also the Berkeley bubble. I live in one of the most progressive cities in the country, and most of my people are kind of many of what you see here. We're kind of the older Buddhist feminist. I mean, I'm generalizing wildly, but sort of progressive bunch, and I feel the gifts of that, but I also feel the constriction of that, and how sometimes to grow we've got to really jump outside of our bubble, however we can. So about 4 years ago, I was in one of those crossroads in life where I was 65. My son had gone off to college, my only son. My dad had died. My mom was heading that way. I didn't have anyone to take care of. Even my partner had grown up. I wasn't taking care of him anymore. And it was a window that opened. And in that window, also feeling a little at the end of a certain era in my life, like the work, I love my work. I love my music. I love making music with people like you. But even that felt like, I've been doing that a long time, a little stale, a little itchy. So I got a call. I got one of those summons, get on board. Come on, something big wants to happen, Betsy, get on board. And the invitation was to go traveling out into the world. And so I got on a plane with a little guitar on my back and a backpack. And I traveled through Asia and Africa and a little bit in Europe for about 8 months by myself. And I planned it really carefully. It was not random. It was very well planned. I got a fellowship to do it. And my mission was to go visit women and grassroots organizations in developing countries because I wanted to learn about power. I knew many stories of international women, especially with a quarter of the resources that we women in the US have, especially white middle class women. Resources of agency, of voice, of financial support, of careers, of skills, all that. And women, visiting women in Asia and Africa that, did not have what we have, and yet they were doing courageous, amazing, bold enterprises that I was like, I want to learn what that is. I want some of that. I want to bring it back because don't you sometimes feel like, why aren't we out in the streets every day banging pots? just sometimes just have that awakening of like, we're kind of drinking our tea and looking at our email. It's like, why aren't we out enraged and like work stoppage, sex stoppage, you name it stoppage, right? So out I went. And so I want to sing you. Sorry, my guitar went out of tune. I think Baby's Coming In kind of did it in. So I want to sing you a song I wrote actually before I went. It's really about the village that we all belong to, and the trauma and pain it causes us to live in a village that's been divided into higher and lower and richer and poorer and better and worse. And a lot of that is because there's a problem with who's kind of running the wheels of power right now. The visible wheels of power. The real power is coming up from the ground, but the visible levers of power are in the wrong hands. These hands have... I want to say this song is called These Hands. These hands have caught a newborn baby daughter. These hands have gently closed the eyes in death. These hands have sifted flour and poured the water, kneaded the dough for daily bread. These hands have woven many colors, held the plow, chopped the sugar cane, signed petitions, held the gavel, knitted up what's come unraveled, lifted up the crying child and eased the pain. And these hands can build a world of peace, and the world is waking up to understand that nothing can be changed till the power's rearranged and we put our trust again in women's hands. I want to sing that again. I want you to sing it with me. I'll teach it to you line by line. This is really kind of, for me, a credo. This is what I truly believe. And these hands can build a world of peace, and the world is waking up to understand. It goes like this. And these hands can build a world of peace, and the world is waking up to understand that nothing can be changed till the power's rearranged and we put our trust again in women's hands. That nothing can be changed till the power's rearranged and we put our trust again in women's hands. I know it's not easy, but if we do it again, it'll get easier. And these hands can build a world of peace. The world is waking. World is waking up to understand. Nothing can be changed till the power. Nothing can be changed till the power's rearranged. Put our trust, and we put our trust again in women's hands. Imagine how our lives would prosper if a mother's eyes saw hunger all around, and her hands held the power to sign the order, to bring the wealth to wherever the need was found. Imagine all the peace within our hearts, to know that all were fed and warm and free. No one left behind, no really hard when we are family. And these hands, sing it with me, can build a world of peace. The world is waking up to understand nothing can be changed, that nothing can be changed till the powers rearranged and we put our trust again in women's hands. And these hands right here can build a world of peace. And the world is waking up to understand nothing can be changed, that nothing can be changed till the powers rearranged and we put our trust again in women's hands. Nothing can be changed. Nothing can be changed till the powers rearranged and we put our trust again in women's hands. And this is exactly the time we're in. It is the time to give the leadership, to let go of the reins, those of us that have had any hold on the reins, and let the children lead. Let the people of color lead. Let the international people lead. Let the poor people lead. Let the women lead. And I don't, that is even the wrong word. I don't know how to say it quite, but we won't get out of here. We won't get out of this mess if we don't support the leadership that is rising up. And it may not look like the way we would lead things, it may not look like the way we would do things, but that's part of our awakening. It's part of being humble. And if nothing else, we just can be humble, pay attention and notice and kind of talk less, listen more. I'm a fine one to talk. I'm a real talker, but I am learning when it's not my microphone to not take the microphone, to not take the microphone. So we are kind of closing in a little bit here, and I want to just share I want to share one of the women that should be running the world right now. And this is the woman I've been talking about for a few weeks. Her name is Esther Konkara. She lives in Nairobi, Kenya. Those of you that came to the first session know that much of your donations went to Esther, who is a country singer, a very popular country singer in Nairobi, and that's how I met her when I was there, and we sang together, and she's awesome. And she's a single mom. And, in Kenya and in most probably African nations, even to be a successful country singer, it does not in any way mean that you have means, that you have stability, that you have security. And when the COVID hit and the shutdown began, her income, of course, got shut off, just as all musicians did and all many other people. And her situation became very serious. She has a 3-year-old daughter, and we text, we WhatsApp a lot, and I've sent her little bits of money as I can from time to time. But one day I got a text from her, and this was before our first session, and she said, thankfully my boyfriend brought us some food today, but I don't have money for diapers. I'm potty training. Lovelyn is her daughter's name, Lovelyn. I'm potty training her, but at night I need diapers. And I thought, this is just such an example of how whatever injuries are going down, they fall on the most, the women, the children, the poor, those who are carrying the burden for this whole capitalist mess that we've got. So I sent her some money for diapers, but I thought we could all do this. We could all take some resource and just send it on, just move it on. I know some of us were fortunate enough to be in a position to take our government stimulus check and put it where it was needed. You put it where it was needed. I donated mine to 2 different African American doula and birth support groups, because I think we all know that Black maternal health is not well supported in our medical system and in our country. So there's tremendous birth workers, women of color, rising up to make sure that Black women have safe, healthy births in the way that they want. So anyway, that's the situation we're in. Those of us that have resource have this opportunity to begin to do reparations, to begin to kind of level it out. So I want to share with you, I'm going to do a screen share, what Esther sent me as a not sent me to share with you, any of you who donated, but just all of you, because this is a moment tonight. We're also going to be collecting donations for another group in Kenya that I'll tell you about in a minute. But I want to share Esther with you first. So here she is. Can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can see. Okay, it's working. Good. Here we go. And listen close because she has a very beautiful Kenyan accent. So listen close so you can get the words.
Hello, Betsy and your friends. I just want to pass this message of gratitude to you and the friends that helped to contribute the funds that you sent to me. Just to introduce myself a little, my name is Esther Konkara. I'm a musician from Kenya, and Betsy has been my friend for some years now. I just want to create maybe a small picture of how things are back here. There are many people who are suffering since the corona pandemic started, and me being a voice of, I'm a public figure in the sense that I'm a musician and I have a lot of people who come to me for help, and sometimes you just feel helpless because it's not possible at this moment, for Kenyan musicians to help the poor people or the vulnerable people in the society. We have not been performing since March. All the concerts and the shows and public gatherings were banned, and so that left us also in a very awkward position where you are even struggling to pay your own bills. In my capacity, I've managed to reach out to several people in like just small ways, but Betsy has come in handy because the funds that she sent me, I've been able to reach out to several people. I have managed to pay rent for one of the women who was really suffering in the hands of landlords. And yesterday I visited another woman who with her son, she's a single mother and she doesn't have an income source and all that. And being able to just surprise somebody with a love gift of some food stuff and donations, it really makes you feel fulfilled, and it is a very moving
But
thing.
that's just a taste. Let's give her a hand. Yeah, I mean, she it's just like we sent her money, and she just went to all her neighbors who she knew were hurting. She was actually sharing her electric line with her neighbor because her neighbor's electricity had been cut off, and now they're not going to be evicted. They've got rent for a few months, and this. It's such a small thing. She wrote me this latest text was really touching to me. She said, "This morning, my keyboardist in her band keyboard player, texted me and said he is so down and his family has no breakfast and lunch for today. I sent him money and he was so happy. He said, I be blessed. And I share this with you, Betsy, as you are supposed to take the blessing. That man is the father of three boys. You can imagine how hard it must be for him to not be able to make ends meet." So, anyway, I just wanted to include you all in this because there's a collective joy, in getting outside of ourselves. And that trip to Asia and Africa completely, of course, opened me up, broke my bubble wide open, and I'm still kind of learning the lessons from it. The group that I want to donate to from this week's meeting together is called Life Bloom, and I spent several weeks with them. I know their director because she came to one of my woman song circles in Palo Alto, and maybe Gloria, you might have even been there. Catherine Wanjohi, were you there? Maybe some others of you. And she started Life Bloom. It is a grassroots women's effort to help women get out of the brothels, out of the sex trade, which is what low income women do. If you have no skills and no education, there's not a whole lot else for you. And so they would, Catherine would literally, she was a social worker, she would literally go into brothels, sit down with the women, have a good chat, and then say, "Come with me, I've got something better for you." And so Life Bloom has become a support community for women getting out of sex work and out of domestic abuse, learning just simple marketing skills, simple entrepreneurial skills, but mostly having support with each other. And we sang together. I'm going to maybe next week say a little more about them and some of the experiences I had with them, but I just wanted you to know that your donations tonight will be shared with them, and that they're making face masks now. They're doing little micro industries making face masks and raising money to make food packets to take to families that just can't eat right now with COVID. They're still shut down for another month over there. So that's what we're about tonight, my friends. Well, it's been a journey. Thank you for coming with me on this train ride, this getting on board together. I'd like to just take a minute to actually give you the opportunity, just a few of you, if you would like to first of all, in a moment, to do the raise hand function. And what you do with that is you click on your participants, and then at the bottom it says raise hand. And if you click on raise hand, I'll see you and I'll call on you and I'll unmute you. And it'll be to share a message. But before we do that, so that we really can ground in what is it I want to share here in this moment, I'd like us to go back to our candles if your candle is still burning or if you want to relight it. If you don't have one, it's okay. You can use mine that are right behind me here. But let's just go back. We've sung and spoken a lot. Let's just be silent for a moment, breathing in and out. The question I have is, what have you breathed in tonight? What have you received that is in you now, just like the light of that candle that you've breathed in? Whatever it is, savor it. Let it be warm in your chest, warm in your belly, warm in your thoughts. And breathing in deeply with the out breath, just imagine that whatever you've taken in this evening, you're now breathing out as a gift to travel far beyond. Send it out. Do a couple more deep in breaths, breathing in the light, the nourishment, and breathing it back out as a gift to the world. And then if you care to, raise your hand, and we're asking for just one word, maybe two, really not a sentence, just what did you breathe in and what are you savoring and what are you maybe hoping to give back? Just very short sharing. It's just so good to hear your voices, you know. So Annette, I'm going to unmute you. Go
Just
ahead.
coming from very early women's song, breathing in, cherish yourself, breathing out, cherish the world. And you tying us to Miss Konkara. It's really sweet.
Thanks, Annette. Thanks so much. Anyone else? Mm. Well, and okay. Oh, hi, Vicky. Sorry, Vicky, let me unmute you. I think you might have to unmute yourself, Vicky.
Yes, we both have to do it.
There you go.
Presence. I listen to a lot of music kind of in the background, and this one I was present for the whole thing.
Thanks for that. It's good to have you in the circle, Vicky. Jamie, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, healing and hope. Healing and hope.
Healing and hope. Thank you, Jamie. You're a shining light of healing and hope. Sandy, my old friend. Go ahead. Hi, I can't hear you. Louder.
I said hi. Hey,
Hi.
Betsy. Can you hear
Yep.
me now?
Yep.
Just compassion. Compassion is a way of life. Something beyond politics, but related to the political.
Thanks, Sandy. Another East Coast buddy from way back. You know, if you don't feel like raising your hand, you can also write in big letters on your piece of paper just a word you'd like to send to everybody, a way you'd like to say, I'm here, this is what I feel, or this is what I wish for you. It's kind of fun to just do that. Go ahead and just take a minute. Why not? Getting creative here on Zoom. Benet says comfort. Beth says, thank you. That's lovely, Beth. Liz says, possibilities. Ah, yes, I live in possibility. Theodore, I believe I've got it. Thank you, Betsy. That's beautiful. Thank you. Hold it close, Nancy. Deep listening. Deep listening. Yeah. Carrie says, hope, peace from Gloria. Gratitude from Shauna. Christopher, lucky. You can breathe. Gratitude for breath. Thank you. Yeah. Love, Diane. Jude, community. Love and inspiration from Livia all the way in Australia. I'm so glad you came, Livia. Thanks, everybody. That was just perfect. All right, thank you so much. I think the donation button, you know all about it. I'm not going to dwell on it. You've all been generous already, and I know that those who can will, and if you can't, you can't, and that is so totally all right. Next week, same time, 6 o'clock. First 20 minutes is going to be intergenerational, family friendly. You're going to have fun, so don't miss it. And then we'll go carry on. Tell your friends, invite people. This is an open living room. Let's do one round of we shall not be moved. Sorry about that. Just like a tree that's standing by the water, we shall not be moved. One more time now that you can hear me. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. Shaking up the system, shaking up the system. We shall not be moved. Shaking up the system. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. Rising up together. Rising up together, we shall not be moved. Rising up together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. All of us together. All of us together, we shall not be moved. All of us together, we shall not be moved, just like a tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. And let's unmute so we can make a joyful noise together and be rowdy and say goodbye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come back.
Thank you.
Great.
She only did 1 hour.
I'm just so happy to be here.
Previous, she did an hour and a half.
Thank you. That was
Good
awesome.
indeed.
Testing.